Franchise. We're doing it. It's Feb. Black History Month. The shortest month of the year. A leap year, Henry.
A leap year? Well, so it's a little longer of a month. They get one more day.
They get one extra day. Which black guy that we don't usually talk about in February, or black woman, should we talk about on that extra day?
Medgar Evers.
Who's that?
Wow. Okay. A great civil rights leader in the 60s. One of the ones who was assassinated. He was killed first because Malcolm was killed in 65 and Martin Luther King in 68. Medgar Evers was shot down in his driveway in 1963. And he doesn't get, I feel, enough talk. So let's devote that day to Medgar Evers.
I agree, Henry. Wow. What a great choice. I was going to go with Macy Gray, but yours is good too.
Thanks. I did just watch Harriet, coincidentally. I give it a 3 bordering on a 4-star.
4? Come on. You were talking shit about it to me off air.
The pacing and the script and the pacing are not great.
Is that how you celebrated Black History Month? You rented Harriet?
No, I didn't even remember it was Black. Truth be told. No, but Cynthia Erivo, go Oscar.
Okay, great. Go Oscar, says Henry. Welcome to episode, probably 194.
Oh, 192.
God damn it. All right. Well, that's close. And we're talking samurai today.
Our first coverage of a foreign franchise in almost 4 years.
And that's shameful. That's shameful, gang. And listen, there's a foreign film up for Best Picture this year, and I hope that it wins. But I want to say that the reason I have not suggested doing a samurai franchise for the franchise, have we said our names?
No, we have not.
I'm the D baby cart, Daniel Ehrenberg.
Just as fast as your mouth goes, my brain can't keep up sometimes, Over here is the H sword.
Great. The H sword. He nailed it.
No, he
surely that's an A+ effort.
That's a real bad effort. Let's go with H katana.
Oh, katana. I like that.
All
now,
right,
here's the reason I have not suggested doing a samurai franchise. There are a few, and there are some classics. This is on the Criterion Collection, for fuck's sake, the one we're doing today.
I know. I did. That was, yeah.
All right. So, John Evan Baer suggested Lone Wolf and Cub. He paid us. Let's be honest. Patreon.com/the franchise. He paid us money. This is the franchise he chose. There's 6 of these Lone Wolf and Cub movies about a samurai, the Lone Wolf, and his baby, the cub.
Right.
And now, here's the deal. I don't know a lot about samurai movies.
I don't either. You and me have similar tastes.
I've got to admit this, all right? Listen, and so I'm afraid. Usually I could pull references out of my ass. I'm very well read in terms of film. This is a weak spot for me. And so if you ask me to talk about samurai movies, I'm going to give you a lot of Kurosawa. I've seen most of the Kurosawas you're supposed to see.
Yeah.
Okay?
I've only seen Yojimbo and Sanjuro.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I can reference the Wu-Tang Clan, of course.
Right.
I can reference the things Quentin Tarantino has referenced in his own movies.
I thought about him so much during these movies. I can reference The Last Samurai. I can reference Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai.
Sure. Is the 7 Samurai Kurosawa?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if I saw that. If I did, it was decades ago. Yeah.
I've seen it. It's a great film. So yeah, I'm a little bit lost when it comes to this franchise. Lone Wolf and Cub. I have never seen these movies before. I'm familiar with the manga that they're based on, but I've never actually read it, and I kind of never even knew there were movies based on it.
Yeah, I didn't either. And when I first heard it from Dan that this is what we'd be covering, I couldn't have told. I in my brain I knew it somewhere, but I would have probably told you. Wasn't that a TV show in the 70s? I mean, for all I knew, I just didn't know.
And when I put on these movies, I thought it was going to be like the kind of samurai movies like you get on the street in New York. You know, like those little like skinny DVDs, and they're like poorly made and badly dubbed. And then I put on this first fucking Lone Wolf and Cub movie. It's got the Criterion Collection logo. It's immaculately fucking cleaned up and remastered.
Yes, very well restored.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The subtitles are perfect. Like everything works.
Yeah. We did not watch dubbed. It should be noted.
Yeah. No, of course. You know, you ever go to see it like an indie theater and they're like advertising something and it's like, you could come see it dubbed or subbed, bro?
No, I haven't, and I hope to never do that.
You see anything in Brooklyn, that's what you'll get.
That's awful. I watched Enter the Dragon once dubbed, and it was a horrendous experience. Yeah.
Now, that's not a samurai movie.
I know. Yes.
Does that take place in modern day? Is that the 70s?
Enter the Dragon, yeah, I think it does. This takes place. I was being the history nerd I am.
Here's another thing, Henry. I never know when samurai movies take place. You could tell me this was the 1000s. You could tell me this is BC times. You could tell me this was the 1920s.
Well,
I would believe any of that.
I think there's a very good reason for that, though. That's legitimate on your part. Is that I believe this period literally lasted for like 250 years. So like the actual period, I think so like, I'm not saying they didn't exist before, but like, I think this movie takes place literally between like 1600 and 1840. So
but when?
Really, I couldn't ever figure that out. Because we're in such a world where it's like a different planet.
It is like another planet, Henry, and I wanted to talk about this, too. You know how stupid I am about geography.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
I have never been out of the country before, certainly never been to Asia or Japan.
I've never been to Asia.
And so in the first movie, we're in a forest terrain. Yeah. I'm comfortable there.
Okay.
All right. It's like Ewoks.
Right. Endor,
yeah. And then, like, in the second movie, like, all of a sudden we're on a pirate ship, and I'm like, what is this ocean in Japan? And then we're, like, in the desert, and then there's, like, a snowscape, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Well, I will.
It's like a fucking terrarium.
Yeah. I mean, I can enlighten you a bit.
Or a biodome experiment happening in Japan.
Yeah, it's an Imaginarium. Japan has pretty much every climate. I mean, it's not. It has now.
How
the
big
desert
is
you referenced isn't really a desert, I believe, in the movie. It's more of it's on the beach.
There are dunes.
The Pacific Ocean, my friend. Japan is on the Pacific Ocean.
All right.
And they have snow in the mountains. That's where we get the great prints from Hiroshige and Hokusai. We have forests. They have every type of topographical entity there.
And we've come up on all of them just in these first two movies.
A lot of all he does is walk. So you got to imagine.
But what is he walking across this into? How big is Japan?
It's very big, but it's not as big as like China. It's very small. So considerably speaking,
it's weird. It's like a video game, you know, like you play like Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's like now I'm in like Oil World, and now I'm in like Spooky World.
very, very true. He traverses a lot of terrain. We get rain, snow, mud, sand, ocean, ships. The ship did surprise me, even though it has a navy. It was still a jarring thing.
It's very weird because we just cut and all of a sudden we're on a fucking ship, and it looks like it really did make me think of the level in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game where they fight that giant alligator on the pirate ship.
Which Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game?
I don't know, one of those side scrollers.
The original Nintendo?
No, not the original NES. The arcade one. The original arcade one.
Oh!
Or like Turtles in Time. It was on like Super Nintendo or something.
I know the arcade one. That was great.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to get started on these movies?
Sure.
All right. The first one. Okay, how familiar were you with the comic? Did you know about the comic?
No. I mean, I don't. My knowledge of manga is simply relegated to my friendships with people who read them, and those friends were all in New York. A lot of those people, I know manga was real big in the store. It was a heavily masturbated section too.
Yeah.
We worked.
Same in the comic book store I worked at.
In case you listeners didn't know, that is not a joke. Yeah.
No, if you walk around the Barnes and Noble, chances are someone has their boner in their hand.
He's not lying.
You could look around. It's like a fun game. Spot,
yeah, right. Spot the jerker.
Spot the jerker. Yeah.
Yeah. And my only frame of reference besides that was when I was looking into these, I saw Zaitochi referenced, and the only reason I know that was because Aaron Farinelli.
Zatoichi, right?
Sorry, probably. Yeah. Zatoichi. Great pronunciation on my part.
The blind swordsman?
Correct. And I'm sorry, you'll roll your eyes, but I know it because when Aaron Farinelli and Nathan Sherwood and I were in a band called Lord Awesome, during Aaron's blind drumming little bit, which always brought the house down.
I remember it.
He was Zatoichi?
Zatoichi.
Jesus. Zatoichi, the blind drummer. That's what he went.
Oh, very funny.
And that was his thing. Yeah, so that's where I knew that. So very, very little reference point for me, to be frank. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just do it because, like, as a comic book fan, this is a series that pops up on lists.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I also didn't really know what to expect stylistically wise because...
Well, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because going in, I wasn't sure if it was going to be kind of smooth or because we're in the 70s. So, I mean, I figure it's going to be a little more gritty, a little more realistic, a little less, well, I don't want to give anything away. It's not a criticism, but a little better editing, but yeah.
I just knew that the comic gets a lot of cred for being like the first thing where it's like a warrior and the little kid that he's taken after. Anytime that happens in pop culture, Lone Wolf and Cub gets a little bit of credit. So I remember when Logan came out, reviews were pointing that out, and when The Mandalorian came out last year, that was getting a lot of credit for that. And it's a trope in history. I mean, Cable did it in the comics for a while. He was like trolling around with that baby.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that you brought up Logan and the Mandalorian because that just goes to show that, like, for me, sure, I heard and knew about Logan and the Mandalorian references, but I had no real. It was more of an abstract frame of reference where it was like, sure, they're samurai. That's what I know about samurai. They travel alone, but literally in Logan, he has the child with him, and in the Mandalorian, he's got Baby Yoda. So
that's right.
The exact same thing.
Yeah. Lone Wolf and Cub, Bounty Hunter, and Yoda.
And Cub.
And Child. The Child, Henry. That's what you're supposed to call him.
Logan Wolverine and Child.
There was a Wolverine in the second Lone Wolf and Cub movie. There was like a guy with adamantium claws.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were thinking about the first one where there was a guy that looked like Wolverine because he had the worst facial makeup in any two of the films.
I don't know if I noticed.
Oh, you did.
Okay, Henry. This first movie comes to us, Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance.
Yeah.
Of course, the original title was Kozure Okami Kowokashi Udekashi Sukamatsuru.
Pretty good.
Well, maybe a Japanese listener can let me know whether that was pretty good or not.
We do have at least one or two fans over there.
Great.
All
right. So this comes to us from director Kenji Misumi.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Okay, and he is the aforementioned Zatoichi guy. He directed a bunch of those movies.
Right. Okay.
All right. Now, this movie is written, of course, by Kazuo Koike.
Did you practice these names?
No, I swear to God, I'm just a good sight reader.
Well, yeah, other languages not so much, so I'm impressed.
How dare you? I could do lots of languages.
Okay.
Just not Chinese because they're pictorial.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That I'd just be like, house with feather.
Yeah, right.
So this guy, the writer who did Lone Wolf and Cub, this was sort of his first gig adapting these, but he went on to do some other shit. Lady Snowblood is like a famous thing, you know that?
No.
Okay, well,
you could just take a no as a blanket answer through all your questions.
I don't know. A lot of these I've just heard of.
I'm impressed because I haven't. Yeah.
He's on the soundtrack to Kill Bill. I guess he wrote a song for one of these movies that's on the soundtrack to Kill Bill.
Wouldn't surprise me.
All right. So this comes out in Japan, January 15th, 1972. And what a 1972 it was for this franchise. This one comes out in week 2 or the beginning of week 3 of the year. And 4 of these 6 movies came out this year, right?
Okay, yeah, I was going to say 3, but maybe you're right, because there's only one in, what is that would mean there's only one in 73 and one in 74?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, 3 or 4, regardless, wow.
We'll fucking find out next week. Yeah, that's a record. So far, we've only come up on one franchise that had multiple movies in a year, I think. And that was Breakin'.
Of course. Yeah, who could forget?
So January 15, 1972 in Japan. It came out August of 1973 in the United States of America.
Oh, wow.
Under President Nixon.
Correct. That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Good call.
I can't believe I got that. That was a real stab in the dark trying to guess the president. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm very impressed then. Very good for you. You could name any year in the history of our country, I'll tell you the president.
Give me a year, Henry.
Well, that would be you give me a year.
No. Give me another year. I feel good now that I got Nixon.
Should I go easy on you? I'll go easy on you. I'll give you a 20th century.
Okay.
That's hard. That's still hard.
All right.
1914.
1914. Boy, you got to talk about the guy who was there. President Hoover.
World War I.
President Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt.
No, but wow, okay, that's great.
John Tyler.
Wow. No.
Millard Fillmore.
No.
Wait, I got it. Grover Cleveland.
No, that's 3 in a row in the wrong century, but that's okay.
Who is it?
Ultra racist Woodrow Wilson.
Okay, 1888.
The election that year was won by Benjamin Harrison, but in 1888, the president was still Grover Cleveland in the first of his 2 non-consecutive terms.
This motherfucker. Trying to show me up. All right. Well, I knew Nixon was in 72, baby.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Or 73.
He was in both. Yeah.
Okay, long exposition to start this movie.
There's a long exposition in the movie, so we're trying to keep it
I had a hard time at the beginning.
So did I.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, we'll talk about how we went from there, but I had a little bit of a hard time. And the beginning was just like, it illustrated I have a hard time with samurai talk. I don't know what any of it means, and I don't necessarily care, so I tend to, like, zone out. And then I'm, like, listening, and they're talking about, like, Gaijin, and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I understand.
I've always had this problem, man. Even, like, when the X-Men, like, when Wolverine would go to Japan and, like, fight the Silver Samurai, I'm like, bro, I'm not interested.
Yeah, well...
Show me a sword fight, sure.
Maybe you have a thing about it where there are similarities between, like, the way the demeanor is in certain samurai talk, samurai dialect, samurai behavior, and Native American stuff, too. Like, kind of living off the land, kind of lone person, sort of, isolated, codes and
codes bother me.
Yeah.
I gotta, because I don't have any honor. And so I just don't understand that impulse.
Cannot relate to the honors. Yeah, I get it. Sure. Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I'm with you in that I don't know what the fuck any of it means, and it's an interesting departure from our anglicized world, even our romanticized language of European language, because even the language itself is spoken with such a harsh, to our ears, like a harshness. And so when they're speaking so aggressively and then they're saying terms we don't understand in the first place, it does put you at a distance. So you have to like sort of get your ears used to it.
And before we're getting exposition actually about the characters, they're telling us like about the hierarchies of these like samurai orders. And so they're telling us that like this guy is like the master, the lone wolf, but he's been framed and so he's gonna. No, it didn't help me either. And so, like the first 5 minutes of this movie were basically a fucking wash, and I was just like, "Well, I sat through that."
When those things came up, the weird part was I was happy because I was like, "Okay, good. This will be like a good guide." I forgot it as soon as it left the screen. And the plot became more convoluted than I would have ever imagined.
Well, another thing, and I don't want to blame the movie for this so much because it might just be me that's not used to this style, but a lot of this first movie is non-linear. And so it was an honest challenge trying to figure out what was a flashback and what was happening now. And there were like levels of flashbacks where it'd be like we'd be in a flashback and then we flashback further. And
yeah, I agree. I'm glad you said that, and it wasn't just me. I feel much less like a moron. It was confusing, whereas the second movie was just pretty much strictly linear, and the plot was much simpler. I guess
the second movie was almost simple to a fault, where it was like almost like a video game, where every level, like he was just like, all right, now he's gonna fight these ladies, and now he's gonna fight these three brothers, and
I think that while since the plot will kind of touch and go with it, I would assume one of the things that confused me in this first film was that I was led to believe that, they don't tell you anything. So he's the shogunate. So he's an executioner. So they kill this, what of course in my ignorance, I think is like a young emperor of some sort or the wrongful heir to some sort of throne. Anyway, I could be totally wrong. He kills the kid, but he's doing his job. But then his wife says she's having these nightmares about their future. He tells her, like, don't worry about it. It's under control. Be strong. So then his wife is killed.
And raped.
Then I'm thinking, right? So, okay. So then
didn't need her to be raped.
Was she raped too?
I wrote it down. She's raped to death. I wrote brutal rape scene.
There were a lot of weird, nebulous assaults.
Well, we'll get to that other rape.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So she has a terrible death. So the weird part for me was then I thought, and this isn't just what I was projecting, I thought that this was what the movie was telling me, was that he and his son were now going to go on a revenge fantasy to kill everyone who killed his wife and went against his clan. But then out of sort of nowhere,
I had that thought too, but then I was also thinking, like, he's now, like, I was like, I wasn't sure he was framed at first. I was like, did he do a bad thing? And now he's just going to be like on the run?
Well, I don't know if he did a bad thing, but he was framed because they're just trying to usurp him.
Yeah, they're scared of him because he's such a strong swordsman. And
right.
So they frame him to get him out of the clan, and he's ousted. But he survives along with his child, and it is a revenge thing at first, but it's also like he's gonna go on the run, and it's like spreading across the land. Like, this guy, he is prime to be killed.
Okay. Very well put. And I have two questions to what you said. So one, I never gathered from that one of the reasons, or if the reason they wanted to kill him was because he was that was it, that he's an extraordinary swordsman beyond all, like,
I think this dude just fucking rules.
and there's too much. He rules too much. Like, he's too good.
He's gotten too good. We gotta get rid of him, man.
All right.
It's like Hulk Hogan. How's anyone else gonna be champion?
Yeah. Okay, so then second point to what you just
get Hogan out of here so fucking Bret Hart can have a shot. God damn it.
It's like trying to kill the Incredible Hulk. He's too much. You just get him off the planet. He's too much.
That's right.
No one can control him.
Oh, my God. FYI, Planet Lone Wolf and Cub.
That'd be great.
Great idea.
That'd be, throw Hulk in there. Lone Wolf and Cub Ragnarok. So my question to your other point is this then. Here's what I did get confused about, and I actually have to say, even after the second movie, I'm still not really sure the director has done and again, like you said, it might be my fault. We're going to be saying that a lot tonight. So if it's a revenge thing and everyone wants to kill him anyway, I get that. That's a twofold story. What I don't get is what desire does he come up with to become an assassin for hire? That comes out of nowhere.
I think that's just to earn money, dude.
That's it?
He's on the run. All he's got is the clothes on the back, his baby, this booby-trapped baby cart, and so he needs money.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there's no ulterior motive or it's just this is I'll make money. I'm an assassin for hire.
Ultimately, that's the procedural element of this series, where it's like you have the overarching story of like his former clan and factions therein trying to find him, and then you've got the procedural story of if he's like walking through the woods and someone puts up a specific symbol on a tree, he knows that they're calling for him, and he goes to like complete their mission.
Yeah, like the Equalizer. It's just weird because it seems to almost, maybe it could also be looked at as like a disguise, where like to throw off the dogs. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm an assassin for hire. I'm not who you're looking for. It's just very strange because what got confusing to me in both the first and second movies.
But he's taking
who was who, because so many people are trying to kill him. In the second movie especially, almost everyone trying to kill him are the people that he was hired to kill as an assassin, not the people who were originally after him in the first film. So it's like
the women in the second one are the people, they're part of his old group.
See, I didn't. Okay, all right. I thought they were associated perhaps with the people who were hiring him to kill the Indigo Dye Man.
The Indigo Dye Man, sure. No. I believe the women was a separate faction in a different region that know about his betrayal.
Original betrayal.
His original sin.
Okay. God, it's like we're discussing Ulysses or something.
Well, I want to get into it.
No, I do too. Yeah.
All right, so what I was saying, I wasn't into it with all the exposition at the beginning, but then the opening credits are the first sign that we got something kind of cool here.
Okay, explain.
There's that weird opening title sequence of the lone wolf like coming down like a snowy trail, and on one side it's like fire, and on one side it's water.
Oh yeah, that was great. Well, that's like him. That's like a mythological figure walking through hell. You know, that was excellent.
Oh, you think those were meant to signify Scylla and Charybdis?
Well, look at you. I was thinking actually more literal of heaven and hell, or the river Styx, and paradise on the other side. But sure, have your pick.
No problem, bro. All right, so he's wandering some local villages with his cub.
They're real pleasant villages.
A naked lady grabs the cub and immediately tries to breastfeed him, which was great. I couldn't believe they actually got a shot of this kid latching onto her nipple.
Dude, I gotta say, some things
They're
are
definitely not related.
no- some things are shocking, some things aren't. We still on this show find things that are shocking. I was shocked. I was also shocked because I knew nothing about these films. I didn't expect any nudity at all.
Nor did I, and there's a lot.
That there is, mainly female, but yes.
What are you talking about? We spend about 15 solid minutes in the second one looking at the cub's penis.
15 minutes. I guess we see the samurai's ass at one point.
Sure.
There's a lot of breasts. I don't recall seeing a female rear end or a frontal nudity, but
They're very layered. It takes a lot to get these clothes off, man.
oh my God, it's like a 19th century corset. Yeah, it's a lot of effort is involved. Yeah.
All right, so it turns out this is like an insane lady with a dead kid, and she like sees this kid and like thinks it's her own kid. And the cub, like Lone Wolf is pretty chill about this, man. And this is when we first see he might be like a little more altruistic than it may seem, because he's just like, it's a crazy lady. She wanted my kid to suck on her nipple. Let her have it.
I think you're right. Altruistic is generous. I would say more stoic, but either way.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know how much good he really wants to do yet, but yeah, sure. Lets him do it. The kid's very happy. The woman is happy too.
The woman is psyched, yeah.
And moves on to the next one.
The woman's mom is happy too. So everyone's doing well. Then he gets into a sword fight in the water. There's that one.
Yeah, that was decent.
That was good. I noticed them getting their swords wet a lot in these movies, and that's something I have not noticed before in previous samurai movies.
Oh, really? I didn't think much about it because I didn't think it would,
Aren't they going to rust?
It's a great point. But they are only submerged for several seconds. We should point out a key plot point before we keep going on at this. He almost kills his son.
Oh, I loved that scene. It's the best. It's probably the best scene in the first movie.
I think there's a better scene, but that is a really good scene. Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's like I don't
even
it's
know
like
what
when
to
a
call
couple is fighting over a dog, and it's like whichever one he goes to, like that. So he puts together a little test for his little 3-year-old son or whatever. Yeah. Or he might be less at this point. I think he's 3 once he's like in the cart in these movies.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of time clearly passes in these films. I think he's just barely a year old, I think, in this. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still on sweet potatoes and peas.
And breasts.
Yeah. So he puts a ball, like a shiny, brightly colored ball.
The same ball that Ogami sees 2 kids playing with and singing a song about shit in the sand.
Oh, yeah. Turds. They kept saying the word turd.
Yeah, I think that might be poor translation.
No, Henry, because it's not translated. If you listen to the kids, they are, like, it's all in Japanese, but then they say the words like hard turd.
Really?
In English, yeah.
I didn't hear that. Okay, all right. So
apparently, no translation for turd. That's just a universal word.
Universal word. So he presents his son with a choice that probably didn't need to do at all. Could have just picked up the kid and gone. But
right. So he puts the ball over there, and he puts a sword over there, and he's like, "Kid, which one of these bad boys you want to play with, buddy?"
Pick the ball.
Kid starts to walk towards the ball, but then he notices a glint in the sword. And he goes over there, and so the lone wolf is like, "Okay, I won't kill you. You can come on my journey with me for revenge." And it's an interesting conundrum there from the lone wolf, because
a little bit, yeah.
I mean, it is a weird thing. This kid's mom was just raped and murdered. Like, he's got, like, every assassin in Japan trying to kill him. Like, what do you do with your little boy? And so, I mean, I really don't think killing him is the answer. Why didn't he just give the kid to that crazy lady with the nipple.
Perfect. Yeah, I thought adoption might be a better option than beheading a 1-year-old and or taking the 1-year-old on said samurai journey. But this is rather barbaric either way. So the kid chooses the sword. Therefore, the samurai decides on the demon way, the way of the demon path. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's essentially like what they're doing in these movies is like the path to hell. I think they're just like wandering the terrain of Japan and like raising their enemies.
He's a Ronin, I guess. He's
but like, what's the end game? What's the end game here? Because I get the sense that this motherfucker wants to commit seppuku at some point. Is he expecting his kid to do that too?
I don't know. I could only conjecture at this point that at some point, since he's not going on offense to kill all the people who killed his wife, I assume it's a measure to just teach his son as much as he possibly can for as long as he possibly can to become probably a samurai in his own right.
Well, and then the second like he becomes a master samurai, his dad is just going to be like, peace.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Domo arigato, Ogami.
Okay, then what do we have? There's another fight, the sunset thing.
The sunset thing.
There's this great scene of him like running towards an enemy in the sunset, and they're running at full speed, and then he fucking beheads the motherfucker, and we get great blood spray, and then another enemy runs full speed and jumps over the corpse of his fallen brother, and Lone Wolf chops him in the head.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I thought that's what you might have been talking about when you said best sequence. What's your favorite sequence in the movie?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to put this out there. I didn't like this movie as much as the first one. I mean, as the second one.
I didn't either.
Okay, all right.
I'm with you.
All right. I thought there were some tense moments that were genuinely dramatic and that made me question this Ronin's, like, what his goals were, what he was trying to do. And I think the weirdest sequence by far, disturbing too, but explained some things, was that very bizarre scene in the miscreant barbarian bar where they challenge him to have sex with a prostitute, and you don't know what he's going to do or what she's going to do. Like, I thought there was sort of a lot going on there, and I was so perplexed by that.
Lot to unpack in that sequence. And here's the thing, is like this first Lone Wolf and Cub movie, I guess because I assume at this point had a contract for a few of these because they managed to get out multiple ones in 1 year. This is entirely set up, this movie, until the last like 20 minutes. And we do this little procedural storyline, which is like setting up like, this is what the series might be like going forward, gang. And so he like wanders to this town, and it's a town that's sort of just been like taken over by a gang. You know what the samurai movies are actually like, Henry? They're like, westerns. Yeah, that is what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Clint Eastwood written all over it, and those were done before the.
No, I know. Seven Samurai became the Magnificent Seven and shit.
Right.
But like,
no, they are. Yeah.
But it is like that. It's like when someone like wanders onto a settlement in a western, and they go into the saloon, and it's like Bad Jaw McGraw's there. And he's gonna.
It's playing Drifter 1,000 times over. It's Josie Wales. It's But I guess this was obviously first in history.
Yeah, I mean it's 1972. Like, this had been done in westerns.
No. That's what I meant. That's what I said prior. Yes, it had already been done cinematically, but in the history of the world, I mean, I think the western whole thing idea was taken from this. It would have to be in literature about the Old West. Not the reality,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeah. I don't either. I mean, the blood spurting I thought was funny because the first time I saw it, of course, I thought of Tarantino. And I thought of how funny it was because it really does distinguish it from other types of martial arts films where
it's doing the full Kill Bill blood spurt.
Yeah, and it's not. And actually, in many ways, it's not gross. It's not like because it's so ridiculous looking. Like it's not.
And it's the reddest blood. Like it's actually it's done
Pink.
in like a really beautiful, elegant kind of way. Like the blood spatters are all like really beautiful and abstract, and they find new ways of doing it against new landscapes.
Yeah, that's what led me to believe that idea of having the blood spurt like that on screen had to. I mean, I could be wrong. Came from are the manga comics like that? Do they have a lot of that in them?
I never read them, man.
And they had to get that from somewhere because that whole blood spurting did not come from anything that I had seen.
There's a video game that I think jacked some shit from this movie. Like a video game I was into as a kid called Bushido Blade. And it was like a fighting game, but you're a samurai.
Okay.
You know, like Mortal Kombat, but it's all samurais.
Yeah. Right. This was far less disturbing than the violence in Mortal Kombat, and I loved Mortal Kombat. That's not a knock. But, there's no, like, broken bones or brains or anything. I mean,
there's some of that, man. I mean, there's limbs getting chopped off. And
correct. It's just so rubberized, and, like, it doesn't have the reality of, like, Kill Bill, where when it happens in there, it's like, Jesus. Yeah. You're watching and you're like, I do not need to see Lucy Liu's brain, half off of her head. Right. You know what I mean? Like, this is just, but.
All right, so he's in this town. He goes into this dwelling, and this prostitute's there, and the bad guys, they say that they want to see him rape the prostitute in front of them.
Yeah, but they actually offer her money, right? They say, we'll pay you to have sex with him in front of us. And they threaten him. They said, we'll kill you if you don't.
Right. So, he's got to bite the bullet, Henry. I think this is the hero of this franchise, and he's going to hunker down and rape this woman. And I gotta say, Henry, if there's one thing I've learned in the past couple weeks, it's that you can rape one woman and still be a hero.
Here we go.
You're allowed one.
Or like the prostitute says after it's over in one of the weirdest lines ever said in movie history, or anything for that matter. She goes, well, he's a real man. How many of you could do what he did?
I was so blown away by this prostitute's reaction, Henry.
Satisfy a woman under fear.
Oh, yeah. Satisfy a woman under fear.
That's what she says to them. And then you kind of think about it as a viewer, and you're like, geez, it's a good point.
I could have done
it. Dan's like, 15 scary dudes looking at me, then they're going to kill me if I don't. Whatever, dude. I don't care.
That doesn't bother me at all. It might be an extra turn on.
Well, that's your thing. That's in your mind.
I don't know. I liked this prostitute. So her reaction was weird though. Like she was basically just like, you know what she says too? She says like, I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
She goes like, I was on the brink of suicide, and then this gallant man comes striding into town and rapes me. And honestly, I didn't think I was pretty or beautiful and likable enough to be raped by this wonderful samurai.
I'll tell you one more, my friend. I'll go right out there. The end of the movie gives us every indication. The final scene, she is not only she is fallen in love.
No, she is absolutely honored that he raped her, and it gives her a little confidence too, because after she gets raped, she's lying there full of lone wolf spunk, and there's and the bad guys are like calling her names and shit, and she starts like talking back to them. She
taunts them. Could you have done it?
It's like he filled her up with confidence, and and so then he like kills them all, obviously, and she starts to follow him out of town.
And that's one of the things that I think is maybe not a turning point for him, because first of all, I was very surprised he slept with the woman, because I thought, in my ignorance, I thought he was going to be like one of these guys who had a vow to chastity for his slain wife. I didn't think he'd be, fornicating.
Well, I don't think he would have fucked if it was his choice, but I also think that it was like, listen, if the choices are get murdered or like stick my hard dick into this prostitute, like.
But it's contradictory later on, because he kills so many guys at one time. At the time, it makes more sense because we haven't seen him do his whole thing yet. So we're kind of like, oh shit. I mean, he's outnumbered here. But it's like he could have dispatched this.
That's the thing. We have seen him do his thing, Henry. We've seen in the flashbacks, because like the flashbacks to him like defending his wife, and like what I was talking about with the sunset scene and the fight in the water, like we've seen him like handle himself with this fucking sword against like far greater threats. And so my big problem with the third act of this movie was like I just never felt like he wasn't in control. Like I didn't even feel like he had to rape that woman. Like he could have just like fucking killed all 25 of these dudes like without breaking a sweat.
That's what I just said.
No, I know it's what you said, but that's an issue with me, where it's like I complain about this with movies a lot, where the villain wasn't good enough, and I'm sorry, the villains weren't good enough in this particular Lone Wolf and Cub movie. The second movie has two sets of villains that are better than any of the villains in this movie.
I totally agree. There's too many villains in this movie. That's the problem.
And none of them are really fleshed out, except for that one, like, old, like, the elder in his old clan who we see, like, watching him from afar and shit.
That's the guy I meant who looked like Wolverine with the fucking terrible makeup.
Yeah, he's got some mutton chops.
And I thought the guy in the beginning had potential, the one who frames him and comes in, the one wearing the weird hat. And like frames him at the temple.
You're gonna have to be more specific when you talk about weird hats in these movies.
Okay, it's more like a helmet than like a straw hat. He was the chief inspector, I believe, and I thought had potential to become the main villain, but there really isn't a main villain. Even the Chamberlain, as they call him, I thought he would be the villain. So I think
he's traveling too much for there to be a main villain. You know, now you could have Shredder follow them around in the Technodrome or Team Rocket. You know, they're wandering. But I'm saying this is the old days, Henry. This is between 1000 and 1998. So there's not a lot of transportation.
Or there's every kind of transportation in the world, and he's still so stoic and stubborn he must walk. Yeah. Now, one thing that I think was supposed to be a huge reveal in the movie, but wasn't that shocking to me. It took me like 5 minutes later to realize, like, oh shit, I think I was supposed to be stunned at that, and I wasn't. Was that the baby cart is like his utility belt.
Well, is that even in the first one? That's fleshed out way more in the second one.
Yeah, but it makes its appearance in the. I mean, that's when he.
Yeah, it's booby trapped, you know.
But I was like, I kind of was just reacted in that scene. I was just like, yeah, well, sure. I'm sure that he has weapons in there. Like that didn't surprise me. And I think it's supposed to be like a big red herring where you're like, God damn, this cumbersome baby cart everywhere, and it's like, oh, but he has weapons in there.
I think they fixed it in the second one. They made it way cooler. There's a scene in the second one where, you know, it doesn't assume you have knowledge that the cart is booby trapped, and he just sort of pushes the cart with the baby in it at like a line of enemies, and you're like, what are you doing, you fucking maniac? And then the kid like presses a button on the cart and it sprouts a knife and stabs a woman in the vagina. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, I mean, now I see, I suppose, the reason for the cart, if not a reason to put it in the title of every movie. Yeah. I think that's unnecessary. But, I love
it. By the end of the second one, I started saying baby cart a lot.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm all about it.
Do you think if it would have been called Baby Carriage, it would have had the
I
same
think
effect?
stop calling them Lone Wolf and Cub. Just have them all be Baby Cart at the something.
Baby Cart 1, Baby Cart 2. Yeah. I never heard the term Baby Cart.
Me neither. I mean, it must be like it's like a stroller, but
Correct,
like it's like an ancient Japanese stroller.
Yeah, it's like a combo wheelbarrow, and now one of those things that yuppies have for their like 5 kids, with the strollers. With
Of
5
course,
babies.
but it's got like wooden legs. It's mad rickety. Yeah,
It's also a fucking boat.
it does sink. I mean, it doesn't sink. Yeah, it floats.
Oh.
And
Like
he wasn't sure. He like suspected it didn't sink.
Well, do we know that he wasn't sure?
There seemed to be some trepidation.
Yeah. We're jumping ahead of ourselves, but that's okay. So does he.
Well, I mean, we can just. What do you give the first movie, and then we could get into the second one.
Well, I'm gonna change it a little bit from what Yeah, I am. I mean, look, I gave both movies the same rating.
Oh, I didn't.
But I like the second one much better. And after discussing it with you, you've illuminated some points, and our discussion helped. But I am going to have to give the very first one, Sword of Vengeance, 2 stars.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to give it a 3.
That's what I had written.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a solid samurai movie with some fun spikes of violence. It helps that both of these movies hover around the hour and 20-minute mark.
It really does, because it can get tiresome. Yeah, they're weirdly paced, too. I think that's a lot to do with the style.
I thought the second one was really well paced. Like, I thought the second one was the correct length.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, for me, the second one, they figured out the series, and the second one made me more excited to watch the rest of them.
I agree with you on all that. I think the reason I'm just going 2 is just there is so much exposition to get through in this movie, and there's so many plot points, and I just feel like if it would have maybe been a little more streamlined, I could have been on board a little bit better. But everything in the second movie that the first movie does is just much, much better. So yeah.
Agreed. Who's your MVP?
Well, in the first one, I'm absolutely going to go with the lead, and that's Thomas Boro Wakayama.
Interesting presence this guy has. I've always liked the custom that the Japanese have fat badasses.
I love that too. I love that he's just this out of shape fucking beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, no, recognized him. No, I did not recognize him. But when I was doing my superhero count, which by the way, if you
everybody.
If you count Ultraman, then it's everybody. But we're not.
I count Lone Wolf and Cub.
That's right. There's no superhero count for either of these movies, by the way. But Thomas Boro Wakayama does have a very auspicious film role in a little 1989 movie where he plays Sugai-san in Black Rain.
Oh, God. This dude shows up in Black Rain. How's he looking? Has he gotten fatter?
I haven't seen Black Rain in many years. But
I feel like I want Lone Wolf. Like, this is how I want the franchise to end. I want him to decide that he and his son, they're in the clear. They can live happily ever after. The cub, he goes off as a Ronin, and the lone wolf just eats himself to death.
Well,
just dies 700 pounds like Yokozuna.
He looks good. I mean, I remember the character. He's the Sugai-san. And he's got like gray hair, like real slick back, and he's still just as hefty, but not too bad. So, Black Rain is only 17 years after this movie, so he looks good.
All right, Henry got in a Black Rain reference. Who's your LVP?
I think my LVP, actually, I'm glad I wrote this. This I'm going to stick with because especially of our discussion on the illuminating absence of a great bad guy, I'm going to go with the crazy makeup guy. That's my name for him. That's right. He's the guy with the sideburns watching from afar.
Yeah, he's good. He's funny. To me, the LVP is the gang at the end. It all comes down to the end for me. Is the gang at the end is the LVP for me, especially the leader who was sort of just like an ancient Japanese version of like a redneck or something. And
we both just picked bad guys.
But my MVP, I'm going to say my MVP is the prostitute.
Yeah.
What a great reaction to being raped.
I really thought at one point you were going to pick the baby, and I'm glad you didn't, because, the kid gets a little annoying after a while, but
not in the second one. He's fucking cute in the second one.
Yeah, it's a cute kid, but yeah. So the prostitute getting your MVP.
That's right. I wanted to see her join them, and I was saddened when she didn't. That said, by the time like the second one, I started watching it, like I forgot she existed. So
of course you did. Now, did you bother to look up that actress's name?
Henry, that's something I probably should have done.
No, that's okay. It doesn't really matter, I guess.
It's possible that she is Tomoko Mayama, who plays Osen (parentheses whore).
Yeah, that's her, Tomoko.
Yeah,
Mayama.
yeah. Here's the crazy woman's different. Okay, great. Yeah. So that's my MVP, Tomoko Mayama.
So I give it a 2. You give it a 3. But I will not say that I did not like it. It was very interesting. It was a slow start for me, and I know we had 5 to go, so I'm not worried about my 2. And I'm moving on, right, to the River Styx.
I'd sure love to move on to the River Styx. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Domo.
That's great.
That's Styx, really... right?
That is them. Isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Or is that another song?
I don't know. That might be She Blinded Me with Science by Thomas Dolby.
Thomas Dolby of course, Dolby Surround Sound.
That's right. How about Come Sail Away, Come Sail Away, Come Sail Away with Me? That Styx.
Yeah. I like that. I dig it. I'm just looking up this director. He didn't live very long. Holy shit.
54, I think he died.
Yeah, I think he might have had a drinking problem.
Oh, really? Is it a cirrhosis situation?
It is, which, you can get in other ways, but yeah. Oh, boy. All right. Anyway.
All right. Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx, Henry, by Kenji Misumi and Kazuo Koike. They're back. This was released in Japan April 27th, 1972. Holy shit. It's like, this is the Matrix Revolutions.
Man,
the Matrix Reloaded.
There's no time wasted, man. Like fucking 90 days go by. Or 120, depending on your math.
You mean correct or incorrect?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this one, baby. Great opening. Incredible.
You got to remind me.
I'm all in on this movie from moment one. A guy with a basket on his head. He runs at the fucking Lone Wolf. The Lone Wolf chops the basket in half. The basket separates upon his head, revealing that his scalp is also chopped in half.
Oh, yeah.
That goes in half. And then a second basket head guy, this is always how it goes in these movies, he dives and he is impaled. What a great beginning.
It's a way to start a film is what it is.
That's right. Yeah. Cut to Lady Fight Squad, baby. Wherein this is like his old crew, and they're like, it's a new region. How are we going to get this motherfucker? He got all our guys from that last region.
Yeah,
it's like it's really like Mario. Like, now go to this world. Hey, you made it to the end, but the princess is still out there. Go over here.
Right, and I mean this is now definitely when we get into this. I think there's several really good scenes in this movie, but I think this is the first great scene is where he's not even a part of it, which is when one of the bad guys approaches the Lady Death Squad, and that whole sequence where the Lady
Death Squad is like, show me your best guy.
Yeah.
How about that? Man. How about that, bitch? Show me your best guy. Okay.
She laughed.
By the way, it's 1972. We're getting a Lady Death Squad. That's pretty good.
I was really happy and impressed with that. I was like, holy shit! Like we had 2 females in the first movie. One was a
whore and one was an insane person.
Well,
No, there's the wife too, right?
A crazy lady, an old grandma, and a prostitute.
66.6 repeating percentage of the women in the first movie got raped on camera.
Now, right away in this one, we have a local badass who is, and I gotta say, this woman, this actress, man,
I loved her.
Holy shit! Like she's commanding. Like she's not just like giving lines and be like, okay, you're a good looking woman. Just say these lines because you're gonna be the bad woman. And she's fucking
she's a legit good like super villain, a good foil. Yeah. They actually have sexual chemistry too, like which is weird.
Very weird, yeah. Especially since he does not emote.
He kind of does more in this one.
Yeah, but I should have.
He doesn't emote. I understand. Like, the performance is very stoic, but I do feel like we get to know a little more of his heart.
Yeah, no, I agree. The performance, he's kind of like this kind of a Clint Eastwood thing going on there. He doesn't, in the Westerns that Clint Eastwood was in. There's no emoting there.
Yeah, he's the man with no name.
Yeah, right.
So, Lady Fight Squad, they pull in their best guys, and they kill him. They chop off their ears. They chop off their nose despite their faces. They chop off their hands. They chop off their fingers. It fucking rules.
Now, this was definitely a sequence that Quentin Tarantino watched about 4,000 times, right, to get Kill Bill in there because, this is all, where else would he have gotten the idea from Kill Bill Volume 1 in the huge chaotic sequence at the climactic sequence.
The Crazy 88s.
I couldn't remember their name. Yeah. He had to have gotten that from this. And
maybe.
It's maybe.
I don't know.
I don't for that on his own. But it's really, really good.
Okay, so back to the Lone Wolf and Cub.
And by the way, that woman's name is Yagyu. We'll be referencing her a lot. So Yagyu.
Okay, it sounds like a beef skewer.
Repeat after me, Yagyu.
Yagyu beef skewer.
Oh, thank you. Yagyu.
So Henry, I shouldn't make fun of names. It's so hacky. Anyway, they.
It just shows our cultural ignorance.
So it cuts to the Lone Wolf and Cub. They find their symbol in the woods, so they're gonna get hired.
Right. They got another commission. Yeah.
So they go, and these guys who hire them have the nerve to be like, "Are you really the Lone Wolf?"
That was great.
Yeah. And so the Lone Wolf, he's like, "Yeah, I'm the fucking Lone Wolf, bro." So he takes his sword and he just fucking tosses it. It goes through a wall. It goes to the far end of that room, goes through another wall, then just a blood spot appears on the wall. He stabs a dude in the back. And I love these people. I think about this all the time now, where like that dude, he was like a person with a life. He like spent 30 years. He like went to school. Like he might have had a wife.
Yeah, that's true.
He had a first kiss. He lost his virginity. He was at his parents' funeral, and now his death comes to just because like this dude needs to prove that he's the greatest assassin.
I think it helps. It's hurting you. It's hurting you, Daniel, emotionally to think that this man was an innocent bystander in this fucking hut. It helps me to think he really devoted his life to
but
evil.
What was that room? He could have been taking a shit, Henry.
I don't think so. I think he was a bad guy. Otherwise, why is he residing in this domicile?
What are you talking about? This is not a bad guy domicile. These are indigo dye people.
Yeah, who want to kill the fucking... they play for keeps, man.
Yeah, because the other clan stole their dye recipe.
Listen, Henry. They're totally justified. They're totally justified. This indigo dye guy.
I think they are.
I've actually had the same thought you've had, except it has been for Spectre agents. Like whenever Connery just fucking shoots somebody through a door. And
yeah,
it's like,
I think about that too.
Or when one of the Spectre villains just kills his own henchman. You're like, what the fuck is that about? He's given 40 years of his life to you. And just to prove a point that you're merciless, you kill him.
Yeah.
So that's what you mean, though. Point taken. Yeah.
All right. So then it's the big fight with the Lady Death Squad. He gets the better of them at first. She
Jumping ahead a little bit. You talking about already in the field? In the field?
No, in the forest. When she jumps out of her kimono and walks backwards through the woods.
She looked like Babe Ruth in the old footage of him fucking running around the bases. Like,
no, I thought it looked like it was like she showed up in class naked or something and like had to like run home with her tail between her legs.
Confession, I had to rewatch that scene because the editing was clipped so fast that when he swings the sword like at her ankles and she flies out of the suit, I was like, whoa, what just happened? So
that's also the scene where like the kid gets dropped down a well, right?
Oh no, that's later.
Okay.
That's later. I know it kind of mishmashes together in your brain, but. Yeah,
but is this where Lone Wolf gets stabbed and he's like injured for a while?
That may be accurate because then he has to go take a break.
Yeah, the whole movie just takes a break for about 15 minutes.
You're absolutely right, and I didn't mind that because these are very, I think, for Western culture eyes, like ours. These are very depersonalized movies in certain ways.
But
let me just so for him to take a rest and be tired,
he's passed out.
I liked it because I was starting to feel like Jesus Christ, like this guy just
he's like John McClane in Die Hard 5.
Yeah, they don't show him eating, they don't show him anything, they show him fucking. That's about it, and so. He like literally passes out, and as one would after one has fought 300 different assassins, you know.
But the best part of this is that the kid does not pass out. So like Lone Wolf is passed out, and Cub is like, "What the fuck do I do now? Like this, like my dad is like dead over here. I'm like hanging out." So what does he do? He's like, "I'm gonna try and help my dad." He goes to like this stream, and he takes some water into his mouth, and then he goes back into the cabin and spits the water into his dad's mouth like a baby bird.
It was exactly like a baby bird, yes, and it was very strange but kind of moving in a weird way.
I loved it. I love the Cub in this movie. Cub MVP.
Oh no! I got a clear MVP in this film.
Is it Yagyu?
Fuck yeah, it is.
Okay, that's understandable.
Fuck Yagyu.
Great. So next up we're on the pirate ship, huh?
Yeah, we've skipped like 1,000
fucking. It's an hour and 20 minutes. How much are we skipping?
No, I don't know. No, I was just trying to remember if there's. He dispatches a lot. I mean, he dispatches so many people. I guess you're right. It's pretty hard to.
I'm not going to talk about every kill in this movie.
No, I don't want to do that either. I just want to talk more about the settings, the set pieces. But I guess, there's the well, there's the ship, there's the field, there's the forest, and there's the sand dunes at the end. So, all right, fair enough. We're at the ship. That was a cool scene, very jarring. I did not know what was happening, I will tell you right now.
I didn't either. So these were the three brothers, which were they're set up earlier in the movie in dialogue.
They are.
And it seems like they all have their own specialty weapon. Reminded me of Ninja Turtles, for sure.
Oh, no.
I was like, this guy's got a bow staff. This guy's got some size.
Oh, dude, it's the exact same trio of bad guys that are in Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, really?
The same hats. They each have their own special weapon or power. Yeah.
Well, these guys ruled. I loved them, they are from the old clan. Or no. These are the Die Stealers.
Yeah, they each have the guy who was a turncoat to give the secret of the
the turncoat. He's like that guy who's sort of wearing a flannel kimono.
Well, he's in the cage that they're carrying around.
Yeah, but he's got like a plaid outfit.
He's a grunge guy. He's
a grunge samurai.
The big Cobain Cornell guy.
Sword Garden.
There. Well, we're in Far Eastern philosophy.
Nurchaka.
Yeah. You have to change the title. You just call it Nirvana. Nirvana.
Oh, boy.
In Bloom video reference.
I didn't get it.
Remember the video for?
Yeah, I mean, I do now that you mention it.
The guy goes, "Here they are, kids, ladies and gentlemen, Nirvana."
Yeah.
Great song, great movie.
Great movie, yeah.
Just a great movie, yeah.
So there's the big fight on the pirate ship, and then they all jump into the water. The ship
I didn't get it
or whatever. Whatever. It's chaos at this point.
No, who's trying to kill who? The three guys in the hat aren't trying to kill him initially because they say to him, "You have a kid, and we only attack people who attack us. So you haven't attacked us, but don't cross our path later."
Yeah, but where are they? Like when they jump off into the water and then like they end up, they're like warming each other in that cabin. Like where are they?
Apparently not in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They must have been in some fucking. Well, they have a ship though, so they're not in like.
I feel like they're constantly finding these broken down log cabins to stay in.
I mean, if that's the way Japan is, I'll move there tomorrow. That'd be great.
If you're telling me that every mile there's a free log cabin, I'm going.
Yeah, right? I'm moving there. I want to be part of that.
As long as Amazon Japan delivers.
I'm gonna look the sea. Oh, maybe it's the Sea of Japan. That would explain a lot. Yes, I think they're in the Sea of Japan. It borders China, and it's in between China and Japan. So they might. What,
not. You looking at an atlas over there?
I'm looking at it on a map. Yes, the Sea of Japan. It has a couple of basins. Makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
Are you making this up? That's the most generic name you could come up with. Oh, yeah, I can see that. No problem. Henry's holding up his fucking phone to his shitty computer camera like I can make out what's on it.
Yes, it's between Japan, Russia, and Korea. I think we're in the Sea of Japan. Problem solved. Okay.
All right, so they've got to get warm. They're verging on hypothermia here. Let's first take all the young boys' clothes off. Unleash that fucking snake. I'm telling you, this fucking 3-year-old kid, that is an above-average penis. That is like an average man's penis. Like, that's a 6-inch penis on a 3-year-old.
Oh, you need examination.
All right.
I really thought we were in for another... rape.
100%. I wrote down 1 rape per film.
with a question mark?
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be like a revenge one. Like, you know what? You fucking did it this time, lady. You did it this time.
Yeah, you're not getting away from me with that weird kimono jump now.
You try to kill me? This is your punishment. I saved your life.
Now you get sexually assaulted.
That's right.
In front of my child.
That's right. I pulled in the Sea of Japan. I saved you. But no, he's got something much more economical.
No, he's a fucking genius. First of all, he should have just explained it. Like, he's ripping her clothes off and she's screaming, expecting to get raped. He could have just been like, stop screaming. It's cold to have these clothes on. We're all just going to huddle together for warmth. All right?
Yeah, which he could have just said at first. Maybe he was worried that if he said, take your clothes off to keep us warm, she wouldn't have complied. You know? It's better just to rip them off.
Sure.
And he takes a very long time to do that because there's like 17 layers.
Yeah, so she's naked. They're all naked together, and they're huddled up. The kid's in the middle. There's sort of this really fascinating shot where the kid is like right... He's hovering right around her nipple. And it's like, is he going to suck on this thing?
It's very odd.
Does he miss the crazy lady's nipple from the last? And then all he does is he just sort of strokes it.
Yeah, it's weird because I was at this point in the movie, I think you would have been too, since we already sort of touched on it, the kid is now probably 3. So unless he's part of
He's
this,
talking.
right, Papa, lots of Papa,
Yeah.
and unless he's part of that,
And he's walking. He was able to get water from the sea and bring it back to his dad.
Very much so, yeah. So unless he's part of this new agey, white, trashy, I'll breastfeed you till you're 10 culture, I didn't think he'd be breastfeeding still. But he doesn't. He just kind of slaps him a little bit. And his dad's, for that matter. They show them both.
Yeah, but that's what you want to do. Like anything that protrudes when you're a kid, you're going to touch it. Yeah.
Very odd, though. Very odd sequence.
Yeah. Although, even when I was a kid, I was like afraid of like touching boobs.
Uh-huh.
I knew boobs were a thing you weren't supposed to be doing too much with.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you were raised properly.
Yeah. I remember giving my mom a shoulder massage when I was like 6 years old, and I touched her side boob by mistake, and it made me feel real fucking weird. And clearly, I still remember this.
You remember that from when you were 6?
Yeah.
You know what I remember from when I was 6?
What?
Nothing.
I remember everything from like the time I was like 3.
Maybe you have what Mary Lou Henner has, the mimetic memory.
No, but she can like tell you like every day of her life.
It's pretty good. I mean, I could tell you I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters, but that's just a vague...
Yeah, but Mary Lou Henner can say like, well, on January 20th, 1984, I had a delicious Yoplait vanilla yogurt.
Yeah, I actually think that the whole Mary Lou Henner with the mimetic memory thing's a little bit of bullshit.
It's not. Come on, we watched her on Celebrity Apprentice, and she pulled that shit out of her ass all the time.
Is she the one of the ones we saw together?
Well, I think so. She was on the show twice because she came back for All Stars.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad she couldn't see into the fucking future instead of the past.
Great point, Henry. What if Mary Lou Henner was clairvoyant?
That would have been way more helpful to the planet Earth.
All right, so now we're on sand. Sand. I fucking hate sand.
Yeah, and
fucking coarse grains of sand. It's everywhere.
Sand it is. Sand it will be. But I was confused like you were. I thought we were in a desert. Now, I have spoken pretty much off the top of my head here. Well, all of it's off the top of my head. Some of it is probably completely untrue. I don't think Japan has a desert. So I think I was wrong when I watched it. I thought it was a desert. I
thought they were about to start some fucking Tusken Raiders, man.
Yeah, man. I thought we were going to see some Jawas running around there.
Sure.
But then we see that it's just dunes. I was clued in before we saw the ocean or the whatever it is because we started to see grass.
It looks crazy though. It looks like in Beetlejuice when they go into those doors and the sandworms.
Yeah.
So they're searching the sand, and it's the 3 brothers, right? They're like looking around for stragglers.
And I didn't see this coming.
Nor did I, and it fucking rules.
It was insane, man. I mean, I guess the one guy's fucking psychic or he's a bloodhound, but either way, explain what happened.
He takes his sword out, he fucking stabs the sand, and all of a sudden the sand just starts bleeding, and you realize that like all these dudes are just like they buried themselves under the sand, and they're walking around with their swords. They know exactly where all these dudes are, and they kill like 5 or 6 of them.
And I was still surprised because I thought once they like killed the first few, I was like, oh, all right, I get it. And then the whole dune rises and there's like fucking 20 of them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a cool sequence. And it was wild. And then I mean that's essentially towards the end of the movie because they kill all those guys and then
it comes down to the lone wolf versus the 3 brothers, and it comes down lastly to the Wolverine brother. And then you get like one of the weirdest sequences I've ever seen in a movie.
All right, well, wait. So first of all, he clears the dunes of all those guys, and then there's a great shot of the kid pointing to the horizon, and it's Ogami, and he just starts fucking charging.
Oh yeah, I love anytime they fucking charge in these movies.
Yeah,
a dude running full speed with a sword is fun.
It is fun. It is fun. It's less pensive than we're used to in a lot of these. And so, okay, continue with your weirdest. So
he slashes Wolverine guy in the throat, and then the movie ends. Basically, we're treated to this like last breath philosophical soliloquy in the head of Wolverine guy.
Is it in his head?
Yeah, his mouth isn't moving.
There was another part of this movie that was weird. There were a few scenes where I thought there were definitely things taking place in somebody's head, but I thought he was verbalizing. But okay.
I thought he was at first, but I don't think he was.
Okay, so regardless, continue.
And he starts talking about like that sound. It's the whistle of a perfectly sliced piece of skin. And my whole career as a samurai, all I wanted was to hear the echo chamber of the whistle of cut emanating from one of my enemies. And now, here it is. I'm witnessing it coming from my own throat wound.
Croak.
Yeah.
And Danny is not exaggerating. It goes on for a very long time, and no blood is to be seen at that point. But as soon as he stops talking,
I wondered whether the whole soliloquy, like we're watching it in real time, but like I thought it was like maybe supposed to just be within like a split second of him getting cut.
Oh, sure, it could have been.
Like it's almost like he gets cut. He has the thought, holy shit, what a fucking perfect cut. It's the kind of cut I've never made in my life. And then all of a sudden, just like the biggest blood spurt you've ever seen in your life.
Very true, because and the way he does it is very funny. It's not funny, but because I wasn't laughing, but it's funny when you talk about it because it feels like one of those very funny deaths where the villain just takes forever to die and he just keeps talking. Mm-hmm. So it's just like that throat cut almost would have been the best cut, but then if I think of it again, I almost did it that one time in 1645 when I did. Yeah, and so then he dies, and I knew we were going to get one final appearance from Yagyu, and what an appearance it was, and I want your opinion on she chooses, she goes up behind him.
Right.
Does she choose out of, now what the plot description says is she's too scared to fight him. That's not what I thought. I thought she has come to sort of an empathetic sense, which is also backed up by the scene we did not talk about the end of when they're all cuddling for warmth. She almost goes for the sword and she opts against it because she's so moved by the scene. So what did you think?
I couldn't agree more, Henry. I got the sense when she's behind him, I think she wants to follow him. Like, I think she wants to join Lone Wolf and Cub on their journey.
In the first movie? Like, just like the woman in the first movie?
Yes. Oh, and then Lone Wolf holds out his sword. And I think in that moment, it's almost like, listen, I respect you enough to tell you that if you follow me on this journey, like, this is a journey for us. I did the ball sword test with my son, so he's joining me. But if you come on this journey, eventually I'm going to have to kill you. And I respect you too much to do that. You go off on your own. Have a beautiful life. I regret not raping you, but we had a lovely night. Warming my naked son's abnormally large penis with our body warmth.
I thought at one point, and that's a very good description. I thought you were going to say at one point, look, listen, I mean, at a certain point, I am also going to have to give you the ball sword test.
Oh, he should have done that, man.
Now, I didn't take it the same way you did.
He should have given her a sword dick test.
She chooses.
Yeah, like she puts a sword in one corner of the room, And then, like, he whips his dick out in the other corner, and it's like, walk towards your weapon.
And he says like under his breath, there, just to help you decide, there was a whore in another province who did choose the dick, and she was quite happy with that choice.
That's right.
Now, see, I didn't take it like you did. I didn't see it as a repeat of the first movie's ending. I thought she was still bound by some sisterhood to her clan and figured she might still try to kill him, but then just decided at the last minute, fuck this. He's a good guy. He let me live. He saved my life.
That's also a very interesting theory, Henry.
And we have one more scene to talk about.
Oh, do we? What else?
Well, it was a key sequence, and it was very cool because I did not know how it was going to go. That's the water well sequence.
What about it?
Well, so the bad guys decide to play real dirty. They decide to go against the code of even bad guys. And the woman, Yagyu, does not agree with the tactic. So they steal the son, Daigoro, when Lone Wolf is sleeping, and they hang him over a well with a rope. And
I was never worried for the cub.
No, I knew he would make it, but it was very well shot. Like, it was very claustrophobic and like kind of damp and jungly, and I was interested to see how he would get out. I wanted to know how he would get his son out of that. I wasn't sure. And so when he opts to just go for broke, and then the son drops the slipper.
I don't remember this.
So the son drops his own slipper, showing, by the way, a preternatural intelligence for a 3-year-old, ostensibly to gauge the depth of this well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So rope falls. Ogami kills everyone, and then in a pretty badass shot,
Lone Wolf. Stop calling them Ogami and Daigoro all of a sudden at the end of the podcast. No one's going to know what the fuck we're talking about.
It took me a long time to remember that Lone Wolf's name was Ogami.
Okay.
You're fair enough point. Lone Wolf. He, in a very badass shot, while he's still in motion, he steps on the rope with his foot, and it just stops, and it's just very cool. And that's when she is the only one, Yagyu is the only one living, and just watches him through it. And I thought that scene was very well choreographed. I'm done.
Okay, what do you give this one?
I am going to give this... I'm just going to go with what I wrote. 3 stars.
Okay. I'm going to give this one a 4. I was into it.
Yeah, I got more into it as the discussion went. I think that's really helping me to assess how these went for me, but I did really like it.
No, I was like down with this second one. I was like sitting back going like, hey, John Evan Bear, okay.
Right.
Okay, I see you now. I get why you suggested this shit.
Yeah. Now, permission, Sergeant, to later in the series, if this movie is not eclipsed by anything else, may star rating be raised?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Now,
denied.
Permission denied. Who's your MVP? Yagyu?
Absolutely.
Okay, Yagyu's name. Do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Kayo Matsuo.
Oh, look at you. Yeah, I have it written down. Yes, that's her.
My MVP in this one is, of course, Cub.
Yeah, okay. Boy, you gave the movie 4 stars and the fucking baby is your MVP.
He spit the water in his dad's mouth. And he had that big dick. And there was that great scene where they were all naked. And there was the well. The kid had a lot to do in this one.
He did. Oh, and he did step on the accelerator to clip those knives out on the baby cart.
Yeah, he stepped up. He pushed that button.
He's part of the crew now. He's not just like an ornament.
No way. No, it's Lone Wolf and Cub, baby. Cub's getting some shit to do.
For real. Well, I'm happy with my 3-star rating because, you know.
Who's your LVP?
I'm still getting used to this whole thing here. You know what? This one I was a little stumped because I didn't think there was a bad performance in this movie, and I liked every character. Maybe if I'm looking back, maybe the actual reveal of the indigo expert who comes out of the fucking cage. It's kind of this namby-pamby nobody, and there's all this shit for him.
That's fair, man.
Could have been maybe like a secret samurai himself or something, and he's just this like bald, poor bastard. And he just
me, it was Flannel Guy.
That's who I'm talking
Oh,
about.
that's who you're talking about. Yeah, he was just a real Benedict Arnold. He couldn't actually do anything. He was just this like fucking squealer. Fucking rat.
So we agree.
Snitches get stitches, bitch. And
Yeah, I don't
he got cut up good.
think there's going to be any stitches there.
Yeah.
Oh, and we get in this movie the first time that I kept thinking, when is this going to happen? So he's killed a lot of people by cutting their heads in right down the middle, right square on the forehead. Finally, in this movie, we do get the head to split apart and divide the body into a bisectional affront, and that was wonderful. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay.
That was great.
Great.
I could tell Dan was already looking at the next thing. Yep.
I sure am, Henry. No superhero count on this one?
Nope. Ultraman is excluded.
Ultraman is excluded.
He's a Japanese TV superhero that was real big, and a lot of these actors and actresses are in it.
Okay.
For the sake of culture, I suppose we could throw Ultraman in there, but yeah.
All right. So, what a week, Henry. We've got more to come next week with the Lone Wolf and Cub series. They are all streaming there on the Amazon for $3.99 or something.
Was that an advertisement for Amazon? Or
if people want to follow along.
Yeah, it's true. It's not like they're going to be able to find this shit anywhere else. Yeah. Okay, it's a good point. So next week's movies are...
Oh, that's a great question, Henry. We have Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx. No, we did that one. We've got Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart to Hades.
And that is from 1972 as well.
Correct.
So, yes.
And we've also got Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in Peril. Also from 1972.
Right. Wow. So 4 of these bad boys. And then 1 year for each of the next 2.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.